Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I've been really looking forward to sharing this episode because I spoke to the incredibly uplifting Michelle Taylor, also known as the Funky Celebrant. We had a brief chat about our shared love of Harry Potter, but then we went on to discuss the important issue of allies and finding your allies in the wedding industry. There are lots of suppliers out there who are passionate about ensuring their services meet the needs of all couples, not just the stereotypical straight, white, young, skinny couples that are plastered across the wedding industry's media pages. So, if you are from a community that feels a little underrepresented and you're struggling to find suppliers to make your dream day become a reality, this is a great podcast to listen to get some ideas. And if nothing else, be reassured that there are lots of us out there that want to help you have the day that you truly deserve to have. I will just add that this episode was recorded several months ago, so some of the references to lockdown and to COVID weddings are a little bit out of date, and obviously that situation is ever changing. But the topic of allyship is still relevant and still something that both Michelle and myself are very passionate about. So we hope you enjoyed this episode and we really look forward to hearing your feedback on it. Hello, Michelle. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for connecting with me this afternoon. I can see your nice, shiny smile in front of me, which is really lovely. Tell everyone who you are and what you do.
Hi Ross, thanks for having me today. I'm Michelle Taylor, aka the Funky Celebrant, and that says it all. I'm a celebrant with funk.
I love it. And how quickly did it take you to come up with that name?
Oh God, I started in celebrancy in 2011. The Funky Celebrant wasn't actually born until 2018.
Okay.
When I rebranded, I was just Michelle Taylor, wedding and family celebrant, and then it kind of evolved into somebody nicknamed me Lady Love, and that just sounds like a porn star name.
Yeah, that's a different business altogether.
Yeah. I think I quite like that, but it's a bit of a porn star name. But everybody says, "But you're just so funky," and I went, "Oh, Funky Celebrant." Yeah, and then when I rebranded in 2018, it kind of that's heavy in my brand being called Funky Celebrant.
Yeah, and it fits really nicely, like on your website, that whole vibe and that whole sort of funkiness and uniqueness. It's brilliant. I really like it. So
yeah, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and I've noticed on your website that you're quite good at the odd poetry and entertaining videos. Is that something you've always incorporated into your work?
I've only ever written a couple of poems for work, because I think if I try and do it for somebody else, that's pressure. That's pressure I don't need to put on myself, but I could do it for just myself. But the videos, I mean, I know it's a bit contentious at the minute with J.K. Rowling and the row with her transphobia, and it's made me not slightly torn. It's made me very torn. However, I'm a complete Potterhead. I love getting lost in that world, and I'm torn between what I'm reading about, how bad she is, but I love Harry Potter.
I know, it's really hard, and I think the whole sort of underlying message of Harry Potter is just so disappointing then to hear her views.
I still don't fully understand the whole row, but I'm reading lots about it, and I can see how her behaviour and her comments are upsetting so many people.
Yeah.
And it's confusing as, you know, a cisgender woman, that I don't know quite. It's not about who to believe. I can see both sides of the argument, but with my love of Harry Potter, it's very difficult for me to
Yeah,
actually say,
yeah,
I can't
definitely.
dismiss Harry Potter. I've got
It's
tattoos and I've got wands, I've got everything.
well, my friend made me a Harry Potter birthday cake. So yeah, if you looked on my Instagram, yeah, we're both well into Harry Potter. So yeah,
What
that
house are you in? What house are you in?
um, I would say I'm a Gryffindor. Everyone likes to think they're Gryffindor, don't they?
So
Really?
you've not actually done the sorting quiz.
I haven't done the sorting quiz. No, they haven't put me in it.
Get
So
on
what are
it.
you? What are you?
I'm a proud Hufflepuff.
And you got the t-shirt. I can see it now. I like it. I think my
Yeah,
niece has got the Hufflepuff t-shirt, so
yeah,
she must have done the quiz. So
yeah.
yeah, nobody wants Slytherin, do they? That's the big fear. Nobody.
I don't know. Not all Slytherins are bad.
No, this is true. Anyway, we're going a little bit off
Here we are.
after it. We were going to talk today about allies, really, weren't we? Finding
Yeah.
allies in the wedding industry, whether as a couple you're looking for allies as wedding suppliers, and as wedding suppliers yourself finding people you can connect with. What does the term allies mean to you?
2 words: love and support.
Oh, fantastic.
If you're an ally with somebody, I mean, obviously it goes across the whole gamut with the LGBTQ, the BLM, and disability. And if you're an ally to anybody, you've got their back.
Yeah.
You're going to love and support them regardless of what issues are thrown in your face or what issues are thrown in their face. And for some people, there's a lot of issues thrown at them. So yeah, I class myself as somebody that, you tell me you love that person, fabulous. How are we going to celebrate that? That's as much as I need to know.
Yeah, totally. It's about action, and that doesn't mean massive courses of action. You know, it doesn't mean every single second of your day you're campaigning or speaking about it. But I think it's that separation between saying, as a supplier, for example, oh yes, we do LGBTQ weddings, we're happy to, or we have lots of couples of all ethnicities. Okay, you're happy to take their money, that's great, but what are you actually doing as a business or as an individual to, like you say, to show that support?
Yeah.
Are you educating yourself? Are you, learning more about a certain culture or certain discrimination that groups face? Have you campaigned? It's those kind of things that sort of make an ally, as opposed to just somebody who, like I say, is happy to do business with you.
Yeah, and I hope I'm an ally. I certainly have gone out my way. I mean, I know Ava from LGBTQ Equality Weddings. We actually worked on a book last year, a children's colouring book for naming ceremonies, because I saw there was a gap.
I saw that. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and I basically, the one colouring book that was out there was very middle class, very white. There was no diversity within it at all, and I thought, I can't give that to my couples. Daddy's putting the balloons up, and Mummy's baking cakes. Straight on the phone, Ava! Who do I need to speak to, because I want to design a book? And we ended up doing it together, and I love it. And I think she does it well. I know she does it well. And we've got same sex, we've got disabilities, we've got colour, and what is your name and what's it all about? And we had a brilliant team working on it for us. So yeah, that's, to me, is being an ally, because I saw something and I acted.
Yeah, that's really true. Have you sort of had a real positive example of somebody being an ally for you or with you that you can share? Putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. I just know, since working with Ava and the rest of the team that is slowly being built, and I know you're part of that team now.
Yeah.
I know I put a post in the group yesterday, and I said, for the first time in 53 years, yes, I am this old.
Definitely don't look it. Definitely.
Good boy. For the first time in 53 years, I feel proud to say I'm a black woman.
Wow.
And that has been because of the friendship and the allyship that has been in that group. I've always classed myself as mixed race. Half caste is what I was called as a child, because that's what you called yourself. And then I've gone from dual heritage to mixed race and blah, blah, blah. You know, there's so many different names out there. But it's only been this year, since putting myself out there with the group and talking to other coloured celebrants of colour and other people, it's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to embrace the fact, and I'm proud to embrace the fact that I'm actually black.
Yeah, of course. And you
And
should
it's
embrace
like,
it.
and it's like, oh my God, that's really weird. And I feel really empowered all of a sudden, but I certainly wasn't there 2 months ago.
Wow, that's
So
incredible.
that's why I'm thinking, you know, just being part of the community that is being formed around all of this is having a knock-on effect for everybody that's within the community. Because I've always had a loud mouth, I've always been listened to, and I was a police officer before I became a celebrant. But I don't know necessarily how much my life has been affected by my colour negatively,
Yeah.
because I kind of wash these things away and don't let them impact me.
Mm,
So I then sit down and start dwelling on, was this because of this or was that because of that? That what has
sure.
happened in the past. But I've just been me. But now it's me who is proud of being me.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And so it's been a bit of not a U-turn, but it's been a bit of a epiphany
A
and a
defining
revelation.
yeah, a defining moment as well. Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah.
absolutely. It is. I think because your experience is the only experience you know, sometimes you do sort of almost take things for granted, the good and
Mm,
the bad.
mm,
I know being gay, um, it occurred to me the other day actually that me and my partner have been together 12 years and we still wouldn't hold hands in public.
mm,
And it's just not something I really thought of. I was just like, we don't, it's not something we do. And I thought, well, that's a huge thing that we're not, that actually for most people, especially sort of straight people, they wouldn't think twice about it.
no,
So,
no.
like you say, you go through life just sort of sometimes accepting or not thinking about,
Mm,
the difference in experience you have because
mm,
you are
mm,
a member of the LGBTQ community, or you're a black woman or a black man, or whatever. And yeah, it is having that safe forum, I think, and that safe space to be yourself, to express concerns, to
mm,
not be afraid to say the wrong thing sometimes. I think that's important as well.
mm,
Like we had a chat before we started recording, and you know, you've got to sort of, we're always learning. We're learning about other people and other cultures, and we don't always get it right. But it's that
mm,
willingness to listen to others,
mm.
isn't it? And
Absolutely, yeah.
and if we're sort of going back, if we've got sort of engaged couples listening, it's picking up on that. Our suppliers willing to listen to your experience and to your story.
Yeah.
Um, and that's why I think you should always meet them in person, because however wonderful the writing on their website is, or their social media is, and they're saying the right things, I think only in person can you pick up on that vibe of, are they
Yeah.
really listening, are they seeing you as an individual first and foremost?
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you approach working with your clients? Is there anything you do in particular to just reassure or give them that support that you feel that you've been given recently?
Yeah, it just comes so naturally to me just because of the person I am. I mean, as you were talking, there's a couple of particular clients have sprung to mind. Obviously, weddings this year are mainly out the window, but it's a couple that I should have done a ceremony for in May in London,
Okay.
but we're now doing it in July. Same-sex couple. One of the grooms is in a wheelchair, as are half of the guests and
Okay.
the groom's party and stuff like that. So we obviously, they're in London, I'm here. We met on Skype. It was
Yeah.
last year. And as soon as they said what the venue was, my mind was just like, right, okay, how am I going to choreograph this? We're going to sit down. How am I going to make sure that all the groomsmaids can get up with wheelchairs? We've got to make sure we've got all this space and stuff like that. So I immediately, as soon as I start talking to people, and my initial questionnaire that I'm filling in as I'm talking to them, I've got 3 pages about diversity and equality, including disability.
Wow.
So they didn't even need to tell me. I can't remember whether they did say something or I, as we were chatting, I said, we've got any disabilities and stuff like that. It just all came out naturally. I went, oh, right, okay, so we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. And my mind just, as soon as they start saying, we want to do this, or we have this issue that we've got to overcome, my mind's like, yes, right, okay, we can do this, we can do this, and it just like firing backwards and forwards, and it's just like, sorted.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's also about assumptions. By having that questionnaire, you're not coming with an assumption about their ability, whether they're able-bodied or not, or you're handing it back over to them. And again, that's a really empowering feeling for you and for them, isn't it, for the couple? I think.
And I'm not afraid about asking questions either. That's partly me, partly my background. But there's so many celebrants say, "Oh, I've got a same-sex couple. How do I address them at the end? Or how do I introduce them at the end? Well, have you tried asking them?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I ask every single couple, "How do you want me to introduce you?"
Because again, that's going on. That celebrant is assuming that there's a standard way to address every gay couple, isn't it?
Yeah. Like there's a standard way to address every hetero couple, and there's not.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So it's interesting, and just little pieces of language I wrote in my book about sort of avoid the assumption makers and people saying, I did a couple like you, and I bet they did this, you could do this, or I bet you're going to have this, and it's just sort of if you fall into that trap of seeing a person, or whether they see their colour first, or their gender first, or their sexuality first, and then making all these assumptions about what they want from life and from their wedding, and it's going back and it's asking questions. And
yeah, and obviously I was taught to interview in the police, and it's about you ask all of the open questions, and then you ask the closed questions, and from asking the questions in the right way, you elicit the information that you want. Yeah,
and not being rushing in to sort of fill any sort of gaps, or sort of give people time to think and to be themselves, because I think that's really important in a consultation. Sometimes it takes a couple of bites of cake or something, if we're having cake and coffee or something, for them to just ease in and be themselves. And sometimes you can almost tell. I mean, I've got a background of working with people. I used to work with children with special needs, so you can tell when people are wanting to say something but they're not, and it's just providing that safe environment, isn't it, for people to be themselves in. And it's so important. If you can't be yourselves at your wedding, when can you be yourself?
When can you be? Yeah. I mean, I get so excited when people start to tell me their plans, and that's the point I know I've either won them or I've lost them, because I'm like a little kid. And I'm like, yes, can we do this? I think, hang on a minute, it's their wedding, not mine. But can I wear my clothes? Can I wear a wand? Okay, I'm happy.
But that enthusiasm is infectious, isn't it? We should be removing a huge layer of stress and giving them another layer of excitement that they've already got.
Because when they realise with the celebrant or with the photographer or something like that, they say, "Oh yes, we can actually do this." Then I went, like, oh, it's your wedding day.
I've had that loads. They come sort of not knowing what to do, or especially if sort of traditions don't fit with them, or that it doesn't, and they're like, "Well, how do we do this bit, or what we have?" And I'm like, you can do pretty much anything. And then by the time it comes to their wedding, they've ran with it. They've just gone from not knowing to just, okay, we're doing everything. We're doing this. And the most creative, unique weddings. And that's the best way. But it's almost like they need someone to give them permission to go with it, I think. And I've said it before, I say it in a lot of my podcasts, but I think because people have never planned a wedding before, they go in thinking there's a set routine and a set way of doing it, and they have to fit a certain mold. And I think there are sadly some suppliers who will push them into a certain way of doing things. But I say as well, there's so many of us out there. There's so many photographers and celebrants that if there's one that doesn't suit you, there's going to be someone that does get you.
Yeah.
exactly. And if there's someone saying something's not possible, get a second opinion. It might be that health and safety or things like that you're going to have to take into consideration. But if it's just imagination and creativity, don't let anyone dent that at all.
No, there's only two things I will not do, and that's jump out the plane because it took me 30 odd years to get in one.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'm not a big flyer.
No, and I'm not getting naked. But there's celebrants that will do both.
It's a shame you wouldn't get naked. You could go back to your Lady Love persona.
Yeah, I need very big banana leaves to cover this body. It ain't happening. I'd scare off the guests. Never going to happen. So yeah, those are the only two things I will not do. But then obviously there might be some restrictions with the venue or something like that I would have to say to the couple, we can't actually do this.
Yeah.
Because
sure.
And sorry, there's a third thing I won't do, and that's lie and pretend what I do is a legally binding ceremony.
Yeah, of course.
So, I mean, some couples do come to me and say, "Oh, can you just pretend it's a registrar?" Well, if you want a registrar, go and get a registrar. Because no, do I look like a registrar? No. Well, why would I pretend to look like one and behave like one? It's not.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's fair enough. That is fair enough. But yeah, I mean, if there's only those two things you don't do, world's their oyster with you, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and if I could, the more Harry Potter weddings I can do, or fantasy weddings, I mean. Another one that's been cancelled this year, which I'm absolutely gutted about, but it means we can make it bigger and better next year, is we're going to be doing some LARPing, which is live action role play.
Oh, wow.
Within a ceremony. And everybody's coming dressed up. So I was very excited for that one, which should have been at Midsummer last week.
Wow. So what are they dressing up as?
Oh, it's going to be witches and owls and goblins and things.
Oh, okay.
Cool. It's going to be in the woods. So, yeah, that's going to be awesome. So the groom is writing that part of the ceremony.
Wow.
And roping in a load of his LARPing mates to actually play that one. And I cannot wait for that one.
I could tell your eyes are lighting up.
Yeah. I mean, so when people come at me and say, well, what we're planning is a bit weird. Carry on.
Yeah, you come to the right place. Yeah. And how do they find you? Because you've done a good job in finding your tribe, or sort of getting across who you are and what you offer. So is it online that most people find you, or is it through word of mouth?
It's a combination of both. I mean, I'm on all the social media platforms, and obviously you can find me through Google, find my website. But I do pick up quite a few jobs through word of mouth, or people. I had one couple book me for their ceremony 3 years ago. I did the ceremony in a back garden, and these two chaps came running at me as I walked away. Stop! We're cancelling the registrar. We want you. No, don't cancel the registrar. You still need to get legally married. And they literally, we were there because my husband's a wedding photographer as well. So we were there for the rest of the evening because he was doing the photography. And literally spent most of the afternoon and evening talking to these two who were just so, we want you, we want you, we want you. And within 2 days, they'd actually booked me.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So word of mouth, but also some people from weddings, some people have seen me in action thinking, we didn't know we could have this much fun. And it's what your wedding should be. It should be memorable for all the right reasons.
Yeah, totally.
And the ceremony should be memorable as well, and not just something you have to sit through.
Yeah, totally. You can make it really memorable, and it's what you're saying is really important, but it has to be words that resonate as well, doesn't it? It has to mean something. Do you help people?
Yeah. I was
going to say, do you help people?
Yeah.
Do you help people write vows? Is that something you offer? Yeah.
I started it this year that I would do a vow writing workshop, but obviously COVID's put paid to that. So I've said to couples going forward that they can have that as part of the overall package have to pay a
Yeah.
bit more money, because they'll have 3 hours of my undivided attention with tea, coffee, biscuits, and champagne at the end of it, to sit them down and start to work on constructing their vows.
Wow.
But I mean, regardless of whether people want to do that or not, I'll always give advice on how to structure the vows. The worst case I've ever come across was, I was literally forced, it was for vow renewal in January, actually, before we shut down. I actually forced the husband to sit down with me half an hour before the ceremony and say, write some vows. But I don't know what to say. Okay, this is what your wife's saying to you. Let's bounce off those. So she looked at me saying, he's saying what I said. I said, yeah, that's the only way we were going to get him to say anything, because he just didn't know what he wanted to say. He didn't know what he wanted to say. So we had three people. I'm thinking, I had an incomplete script. I don't know what you're going to say. And I know he's so nervous. He would have just stood there, went, I'm thinking, no, you've got to have something to say.
But that's it as well, isn't it? You if you're a nervous person, or if you're not sure how you're going to feel on the day, then who you surround yourself with is also important, and not just friends and family, but also those suppliers, isn't it? It's that almost building a community for the day.
Absolutely, yeah. And I always say, whoever's walking up the aisle, could be both parties are walking up together or singly or escorted, however they're going to do it. Look at me. If there's somebody standing there with me, look at me, look at the person standing next to me, and ignore everybody else.
Yeah.
Once you've got up, you've squeezed hands, you've given each other that smile, thinking, I can't believe we're doing it. And you turn around to see your guests, you're holding hands, you're together, breathe, you got this, you look at your guests and you grin.
Yeah.
And everybody says, oh, can't do it. And then they do it thinking, oh yeah, you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the thought of it's worse than actually doing it, isn't it? Totally.
Yeah.
So how have you dealt with the current situation? And as to me, I've just, my priority is making sure my couples are okay, that they're not too anxious, knowing that I'm flexible and will do all I can to help them. I've not looked once at my terms and conditions or contracts or anything.
Nope.
And just try to come around to their side and see it from their point of view. It's so unprecedented. I hate that word. I've heard that word so much, but it's true. We're all in the same boat. We've all been affected one way or another. How have you sort of dealt with that and looked out for your clients?
Pretty much the same way as you. I've kept in regular email contact with them. I did a bit of a newsletter round robin. Beginning of May, I've forgotten where we are now. Yeah, beginning of May, I had 7 of my couples, and we had a Zoom meeting all together, talked about vows, how to write the vows. So it was a bit of a vow writing workshop.
Yeah, cool.
But it was really nice because they got to talk to each other, realise everybody's in exactly the same boat.
Yeah, that's a really nice idea.
Well, we're planning on having this. Oh, we're doing that as well, but we're having llamas. Oh, I like llamas. and just saying, so I talked to each couple, each person individually in the couple, and saying, right, guys, you need to think about this. Girls, you need to think about this, and got people starting to, whether we're having the ceremony this year, some of them will hopefully still go ahead, but I'm not sure. But I mean, the majority of them now next year. It was just to reassure them that speak from the heart when you're writing your vows. So that was nice. We had just over an hour's meeting. So that was nice, just catching up with them, because some of them I haven't seen for ages, and reassured all of them as well that it doesn't matter how long it's going to happen, how long it's going to take. It is going to happen.
And it'll be worth the wait.
Yeah, I've done newsletters, and every month goes along, and every announcement from the government, I then email. So I'm obviously dealing with September couples now, emailing with September couples, and they're saying, oh, we're not sure, because obviously this latest from the government doesn't actually include celebrants. It's only for legal ceremonies.
Of course.
So as things stand, we can't do anything above a total of 6 people, and that's including us and the photographer.
Yeah, so that's nothing really, is it at all?
Yeah, that's scuppered us a bit further because they actually clarified it is for legal ceremonies only. It's like,
No.
oh.
But we have to remain positive, and those weddings
Yeah.
will go ahead, and
Yeah,
they'll be wonderful.
I haven't lost anybody yet. There's a couple of times when I thought I was going to lose some couples, but I've managed to accommodate them. Some days I am actually doubling up, but distance and timings allow that. It's not something I particularly want to do,
No.
but I also don't actually want to lose my couples, and they don't particularly want to lose
Exactly.
me
Say they
because
would rather have you, and then suddenly you have to sort of dash off than not have
yeah,
you at all. I expect.
yeah. But yeah, so it's going to be a ridiculously busy year next year. But what tales we've all got to tell about this year.
Yeah, exactly. We've all got a perspective and an experience and stories to share, haven't we?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, and I think people are learning a lot about themselves in this time, and a lot about each other, and
yeah,
how they react and how they,
yeah,
respond to things. It's quite telling sometimes.
yes.
It's wonderful.
It's,
You hear
yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
incredible stories,
yeah.
but you
It's giving
also
me
quite revealing as well.
yes, it's giving me a new dynamic to the questions that I ask the couples. I'm thinking so one of the questions I'm asking them to think about when they're writing the questionnaire now is like, so how, what did you do in lockdown? How did you survive? What
Yeah.
top tips have you got from living through this unprecedented time? And they're saying, one ceremony I've just written, well, they made love monkeys.
Oh.
So that's gone in the ceremony, along with, I mean, I've sent the draft off, so I'm waiting to see whether they approve the poem. But obviously, there's the Love Monkey poem by Edward Monckton, isn't it?
Oh yes.
I said, you can include that in there if you want, because you've mentioned love monkeys, and it will just put a bit more perspective to what they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. That's
And
fantastic.
she spent the first month painting his fingernails all different colours because he wasn't going anywhere. So they've had fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I've
you
not had
really.
anybody split up, so that's positive.
No, not me. As I said, I've not lost any weddings, and they haven't lost each other. So I mean, if they can get through this, I think they're
Yeah,
they're
they're set.
sorted for life,
They
aren't
really
they?
are set.
Really?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they know to the better or worse. This is the worst, definitely.
yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
how did you? This is sort of something I should have asked for right at the beginning. But you say you're in the police, so how did it come about that you left the police and are now a celebrant?
So my husband retired from the police in 2009. Long story short, he sat around twiddling his thumbs for 18 months before he fell into photography, loved
Okay.
it, went off, did some training, became a wedding photographer. And I thought to myself, because I was due to retire in 2015, and I thought to myself, I'm not going to be in the same position where I'm sitting at home twiddling my thumbs for 18 months. Little did I know 2020 was around the corner, but yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, I need to think of something to do. And he said, oh, come and work with me. I said, I can't take a photo. I can see it in my mind's eye, but I cannot convert that into camera. He says, oh, I'll teach you how to use a camera. No, if I can't point and click, I don't want to know. So he tried and tried. I think, no, unless I can point and click, I don't want to know. I said, I'd rather marry people. So I'd obviously heard of humanists, and I'm thinking, I'm not a humanist. I
No.
don't know what I believe in, but I believe in something. So that's how I, quantified it for myself.
Yeah. Believe in love. That's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cheesy as it sounds.
Yeah. And then kind of stumbled across the organisation that I trained with in 2011. So I had an exit strategy.
Okay.
So I built up my business between training in July 2011 and leaving the police in 2015, October 2015. 2016 just exploded because I had time.
Yeah.
And every year I got busier and busier, to the point last year where I was, in my head, I was too busy. So this year I actually cut numbers.
Okay.
Just to feel a bit more comfortable. I've managed two. Managed two before lockdown. So next year is now going to be mad, which is what last year was, but
it is what it is, isn't
it is what it is. There's absolutely nothing I can do about it, and
No, and
I can't wait to get back into it.
exactly. I was going to say, having been through this, you're going to be all right, aren't you? With
Yeah.
doing more and getting back into it. So,
Yeah.
and I think I've said this to my couples. All your suppliers will be so excited about getting back doing weddings. You're going to get the absolute best from them, because
Absolutely.
I know for me, I've been doing a few shoots here and there this week, and I've loved it. To be back doing what I do is amazing. So Yeah, you're going to get the best of everyone.
I wrote, because the way I split my payments is I have the booking fee, then I ask for the second instalment when I've written the first draft, and then the third instalment is a month before the ceremony.
Okay.
So obviously a lot of couples putting off their ceremony to next year. I won't get the second instalment and third instalment until next year. Like you, I've not waived the contract, but I've just kind of let them slide to
exactly
when I need them to do. But have since now, with any new couples, I have a brand new contract.
Same here.
Which is a bit more pandemic friendly. I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying?
You were talking about the payment schedules and not.
Writing my ceremony. So they are moving to next year. They're going to have no choice because it's a big wedding. So we're not going to be able to have the numbers that they want in September. But they said, go ahead and write the script because we've got the money to one side and we'd like to see which way we're going. So I'm hoping they like the direction I've gone in. There's way more to go in there yet, but RuPaul Drag Race does make an appearance in this script.
Oh, okay, I like it.
And there's more that I can put in there yet. We'll see. I want to see how much they're going to let me get away with before I go OTT. So.
There's a lot you can include from Drag Race.
So we'll go with that, and then they've paid for that, so it's half written. But then I'll just finish it off when it gets close to the time, and I can add the rest of the story of lockdown in, and just have some fun celebrating their love and their unique way of doing it. So I've sending that script, bearing in mind it's the first thing I've written script-wise in about 3 months, it was like, have I lost my touch?
I was the same,
And then the day after saying, we love it, there's a few tweaks, which I always expect because it's my interpretation. But we're in tears. Oh, yes. Still got it.
Tears are always good. If people look at my photos and have tears, I'm like, that's good. We like happy tears.
Yeah. If I haven't made at least one person cry in the ceremony, I'm not happy. Happy tears, obviously, but
of course.
I need tears.
Brilliant. So, if there was sort of one thing that couples listening could take away from today, obviously we talked about quite a lot of things, but maybe particularly those couples, like we said, that are looking at the wedding industry and sort of seeing, as we've spoken about, it being very white and very straight and very young as well. What would you say to reassure them and to help them find the wedding suppliers that they deserve to have?
There's lots of wedding directories out there. Some of them some of them obviously cater specifically, and obviously LGBTQ equality weddings has got a list of suppliers. So anybody that is an ally is on there. There's I think the Big Gay Directory, they've got a list of allies and suppliers on there. But some of the directors that say they are, some of the people that advertise that say they're allies, they aren't.
They're not.
So my big thing would be to say, don't necessarily, unless you fall in love with that person, settle for the first person that you speak to.
That's good advice. Yeah.
Look. Obviously, you're looking at their websites, you're looking at their social media. You can see quite easily especially if they're on Facebook and it's fairly open stuff, you can see very easily how much of an ally they are, or whether they're just paying lip service to something. And obviously, speak to them. I say, if you fall in love and that first meeting, everything about them just matches everything about you, and you're just gonna gel, you don't need to go anywhere else. But I would always say to people, speak, shop around, don't book blind.
No.
Don't just say, I've seen your website, can I book you? Speak to them. I would never want to have somebody book me without at least a phone call, but
totally. I would
face-to-face meeting or like Zoom chat or something like that.
I think in fact it was this month, the only time somebody rang me and wanted to book me is because I did their sister's wedding. So I was like, okay, I've met you, you're the bridesmaid, I remember chatting, you know how I work, see my work, that's fine. But usually, I'd want to meet people. And actually, a good supplier would want that too. They wouldn't want just anyone's business. They'd want to make sure that they were right for you. Yeah. So it says a lot about them, how much time they spend getting to know you.
Yeah. They say you don't want to be working with a Zilla.
No.
Groom Zilla, bride Zilla, mother Zilla, whatever. Yeah. You don't want a Zilla. We've all been there.
Yeah.
And we've all walked away from that one thinking, oh, thank you, it's over.
Totally. And again, you know, with the whole COVID thing, you know, how my couples have reacted and responded, both, you know, in themselves in reorganising the wedding, but how they've communicated with me and checked in with me, you know, I've realised that, you know, they are the right clients and they are the right couples and we do fit, you know. And whilst I really struggle with that ideal client kind of thing, that, you know, where do they go and where do they shop and, you know, what do they do for a living, I have got a good connection with all my clients. Put them in a room together, I don't know if they'd get on with each other, you know. They're not all, you know, one size fits all, but there's something about them that I connect to, you know, on a personal level, and that's really important.
Yeah. And I think my website is so different to everybody else's website. I stand out immediately as being different. People immediately can see what kind of clothes I wear, that I wear Doc Martens, that never know what my hair's going to look like, how I come across my videos, yada, yada, yada. That I am Marmite. You're either going to love me or hate me.
Yeah.
If all you want is a quote from me, you're probably not going to book me because you're not looking at me. You're looking at whether I'm cheaper than anybody else.
So true.
But, you know, if once you've explored my website, you've explored my social media, you love what you see, I would hope 99% of the time that's going to result in a booking.
Yeah, definitely. Fantastic. That's a nice little soundbite to close on. So before we go, you've got to tell everyone what your website is and where they can find you.
Yeah, it's mtaylorcelebrant.co.uk. Really easy. It should have been Funky Celebrant, but I've had Taylor Celebrant for so long, it's just stuck. But I mean, if you look for me on social media, if you look for hashtag Funky Celebrant, you'll find me all over social media quite easily.
And I'll put all the details in the sort of blurb on the podcast anyway, so people can click in and find you. Thank you so much for chatting. I've really enjoyed chatting with you. And unfortunately, I shouldn't say luckily, that's the wrong word. Unfortunately, people listening can't see your lovely smile, but it's bright in my afternoon, because if I look in one direction, I see the rain pouring down. If I look at my screen, I just see your wonderful hair, your lovely, bright, what you, is it a hairband or whatever you call it?
That's just a scarf. So,
scarf, So you're lighting up my screen. So thank you so much. Take care, and we'll have you on again soon.
Okay, been brilliant to join you. Thank you, Roz.